I stood outside the gates of the grand wedding hall, staring at the golden lights hanging from crystal arches. Luxury cars lined the driveway. Men in tailored suits and women in glittering gowns walked past me, their laughter floating in the warm night air. Everything looked unreal, like a world I didn't belong to. Maybe I didn't. I adjusted the simple blue dress I had borrowed from my neighbor. It was clean, ironed, and neat, but it was nothing compared to the designer outfits around me. Tonight was my cousin Lara's wedding. The pride of our family. The perfect daughter. The one everyone loved. And I was just the poor country girl. The invitation that felt like a joke. When the invitation arrived, I almost didn't believe it. For years, my relatives had ignored me. They rarely called. They never invited me to birthdays or parties. And now, suddenly, I was invited to this, the biggest wedding our family had ever seen. My grandmother insisted I go. "They are still your family," she said softly, "no matter how they treat you." So I came, not knowing it would be the most humiliating night of my life. "You can't sit there." At the entrance, a woman in a black suit scanned my invitation and frowned. "Wait here," she said coldly. She whispered something to another staff member, who glanced at me from head to toe, the cheap shoes, the plain dress, my nervous posture. Then he pointed toward the back. "Your seating is there." I followed his finger and felt my stomach drop. It wasn't the guest area. It was the service section, near the kitchen, near the waiters and cleaning staff. I swallowed hard. "Excuse me," I said quietly, holding up my invitation. "I think there's a mistake." He barely looked at it. "No mistake. That's your place." People passing by glanced at me, some with curiosity, others with clear judgment. My face burned, but I said nothing, because I was used to this. The servants' table. They sat me at a small round table near the kitchen doors. Around me were catering workers, cleaners, and helpers, all wearing uniforms. They stared at my dress. "You staff," one of them asked kindly. I forced a smile. "No, family." They looked confused, then awkward. I wanted to disappear. From my seat, I could see the main hall. Crystal chandeliers. A massive floral stage. A royal dining setup. And in the center, my cousin Laura, glowing in her designer gown, laughing with her rich friends. She spotted me. For a second, her eyes narrowed. Then she looked away. Like I didn't exist. The whispers. As guests walked by, I heard the whispers. "Who is she?" "Probably some poor relative." "Why is she dressed like that?" "Must be from the village." Each word cut deeper than the last. I stared down at my hands, remembering where they had been years ago. Covered in dirt. Bleeding from hard labor. Shaking from hunger. But none of these people knew that story. They only saw what I allowed them to see. A past they never knew. I grew up in a tiny village where electricity came only a few hours a day. My father died when I was 10. My mother worked in fields until her back gave out. From childhood, I worked. Harvesting crops. Cleaning houses. Washing dishes. While my cousins lived in the city, studied in private schools, and enjoyed comfort. They called me the village rat. They laughed at my accent. They mocked my dreams. When I said I wanted to study business, they said, "First learn to wash dishes properly." So I left, at 18, with nothing but a small bag and my grandmother's necklace. I worked as a waitress, then as a cleaner, then as a kitchen helper. Slowly, painfully I climbed. The rise they never saw. While they were partying, I was working 16-hour shifts. While they were shopping, I was saving every coin. I studied at night. Business courses. Accounting. Management. Then one day, I took a risk. I started a tiny catering service from a rented kitchen. Just 3 workers. Just one oven. Just hope. And that hope grew. One client became 10. 10 became hundreds. 5 years later, my catering company handled luxury weddings, elite events, corporate galas. Quietly. Without social media. Without noise. Because I didn't need attention. I needed power. Back to the wedding. A waiter placed a small plate of leftover food in front of me. It wasn't even part of the main menu. I stared at it, then pushed it aside. Across the hall, I noticed the wedding planner arguing with the head caterer. Panic was written all over their faces. Something was wrong. Minutes later, Lara's mother stormed toward the kitchen area, furious. "What do you mean the contract is canceled?" My heart skipped. "Canceled?" The head caterer looked terrified. "Ma'am, our supplier just pulled out. Without them, we cannot continue service." Lara's mother gasped. "Do you know how many guests are here? Do you know who is sitting in that hall?" The caterer wiped sweat from his forehead. "We are trying to find another company, but on such short notice." My phone vibrated. One message. "Contract terminated. As instructed." I slowly locked my screen. The hidden truth. The catering company responsible for this wedding was a subcontractor. A subcontractor of my company. And 3 days ago, after seeing my name on the guest list, I made a decision. If they wanted to humiliate me, they would learn what it feels like to lose control. The music stopped. Whispers filled the hall. Guests looked around as waiters froze, not knowing what to do. Lara stood on the stage, her smile trembling. "What's happening?" she whispered into the mic. Her father rushed forward, face pale. "There's a small technical issue," he said nervously. But panic spread like fire. No food. No drinks. No service. At the biggest wedding of the year. I watched as managers made frantic calls. Then, suddenly, one of them looked straight at me. His eyes widened. He walked quickly toward my table. "Miss Era," he whispered. I nodded calmly. Relief flooded his face. "Please," he said. "We need you." The walk that changed everything. I stood. Every eye turned toward me. The poor girl. The servant table guest. The nobody. Walking toward the center of the hall. Lara stared at me, confused. "What is she doing?" someone whispered. I took the microphone gently from the stunned host. "My company will handle tonight's catering," I said clearly. Silence. Then gasps. Lara's mother's face went white. My cousin's mouth fell open. People stared in disbelief. "My name is Era," I continued, "founder and CEO of Era Hospitality Group." Murmurs exploded. I own 17 catering units across the country. Tonight, I was invited here as family. But I was seated with servants. The room froze. Lara's face flushed crimson. "I don't blame the staff," I said softly. "They only followed instructions." I turned toward Lara's family. Her mother trembled. "I simply want to remind everyone," I said, "that humility costs nothing. But arrogance costs everything." I nodded toward my team. Within minutes, professional staff entered. Luxury dishes. Perfect service. Flawless execution. The wedding was saved. But reputations were destroyed. The private apology. Later, Lara came to me, tears streaking her makeup. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know it was you. If I knew." I looked at her calmly. "That's the problem," I said. "You only respect people when you know who they are." She cried harder. I walked away. As I left the hall, I glanced back once. The chandeliers, the stage, the crowd, and the family who once laughed at my dreams, now whispering my name with awe. I touched my grandmother's necklace and smiled, because the girl they tried to bury built her throne from their doubt. Impact. Never judge someone by their clothes. Never underestimate silence. And never forget, the ones you push aside today may control your tomorrow.